In the city heat, there's a place to be, under the shade of the summer tree. Herbs and roots, a magical feast, healing hands, finding our peace. It's time to rise, take control back, with nature's gifts set our own track. Summer tree, feel alive, healing breezes, let them thrive.
All right, welcome everybody to another broadcast. So glad that you guys are here. This won't be a quick one here. We got just one topic we're going to be tackling today. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll be starting here momentarily.
Whispers to me, handle with care, herbal remedies, wise and bold, a story untold, waiting to unfold. In our own hands lies the key to nurture health, live naturally. Summer tree, feel alive, healing breezes, let them thrive. It's time for us, reclaim our youth with nature's mix. Find the truth, trust the roots, deep and strong, they'll guide us where
all right, we'll start another
belong, with
30
knowledge
seconds.
In every leaf, in every seed lies relief. Summer tree, feel alive, healing breezes, let them thrive. It's time for us, reclaim our youth with nature's mix. Find the truth.
Hey, welcome again to another broadcast. So glad that you guys can join us today. And today is Monday, February the 10th, 2025. Did your team win yesterday at the Super Bowl? Did you watch it? I know a lot of people didn't. I know a lot of people did. I watched probably the last, no, I didn't. I remember my daughter, she was watching it in some kind of, backdoor way. She was able to watch it. I don't know. I just kind of fell out of just the whole NFL thing or whatever. But it was good to see the Philadelphia Eagles win, though. Whether if it was rigged or not. I'm a Philly boy, so yeah, I like seeing Philadelphia actually won, and that's good. And nothing like Philly fans. I can't say I'm a Philly fan like that. Because, there are some Philly fans that they a whole nother level. I'm not there. But anyway, congratulations at least for Philadelphia, my hometown. And, I thought that was cool, just to see that. So I wish I was there to kind of take part of some of that, But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. I know I'm going to get some people say, well, I ain't watching that, and it's demonic. And okay, whatever. All right. Just small talk. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about, because we're just diving in today with this particular topic, because there have been some things I have been noticing, and I've noticed for some time, and, it's good to sit back and to watch, observe, take mental notes and measure, you know what I mean? And that's kind of a lot of what I've been doing these days, the older I get. And, and when I say measure specifically, I'm talking about a lot of the things that as Black folks we do, and we got to start asking ourselves, are these things effective? Are they actually effective? Or are they just good for show? Or big shout out to Miss Big Up in the UK in the house. And everybody else that will be making their way to the chat, or you're just watching or whatever. It's fine. So that's what I do. So one of the things I notice is I don't know if I put it in the title or not. Is this? Yeah, I did. This whole concept that we of speaking truth to power, and we hear that a lot. And the saying itself does sound very empowering, doesn't it? We should always speak truth to power. Speak truth to power. What exactly does that mean, speaking truth to power? Well, in essence, it means that you are someone that is powerless, that is speaking, your only weapon is truth. And the assumption is those that are in power don't have it. And so by you speaking truth to them, somehow you're going to be able to destabilize their position by being powerful. That's basically what the concept means of speaking truth to power. But I'm here to tell you that is something that does not, in most cases, does not work in the real world. Okay. In the imaginative world, it does, but not in the real world. Let me give you an example. When the Europeans came over to this country, did they need to speak truth to power in order to conquer it? Did they just come here and just say a bunch of insults and nasty things to the natives that were already in this land, and then somehow those insults and nasty words alone was able to destabilize the, I want to say power structure, but in their understanding of what a power structure was, because the native cultures, it was all different types of cultures and stuff that were here. Did they just say, you know what, we're tired of the insults, we're wanting, we understand that we need to have an equal society where we understand that the earth, it welcomes everybody. Who are we to judge? And we have to welcome you because your words have brought a lot of guilt in our lives. And so now, based on your words, based on your loud pronouncements, we have to just say, you know what? Come on in, take your seat at the table of brotherhood, and let's start building a nation. Did they do that? Did they speak when they spoke truth to power? Did they speak truth to power when they came here? Or how about when the Europeans went to Africa, all throughout Africa? Did they just simply get off the ships and started speaking truth to these natives that were there in order to conquer it? Did that work? No. So we really do not have, when we look throughout history, we can go all throughout European history, when Europeans are fighting one another. I mean, you name it. I mean, all the great battles or stuff. Did speaking truth alone, was that something that caused such a paradigm shift in such a way where those people who were speaking the truth were able to get some things done? Do we have any point in history that we can honestly point to where we can say that, yeah, that worked? No, I mean, even, and I'll give you that last example, and then we're going to turn over, we're going to look at a few videos here. We're going to talk about specifically this pastor that's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who's saying some things, and I want to make sure you pay attention to what we're talking about here, because along this theme of speaking truth to power, there's another side of this that I think a lot of people are not taking in consideration. And so we're going to get into there, and y'all help me out here, because I don't know what I'm going to say when I get to that part, because once I sat down and began to really think about it, I was like, man, this is some dangerous stuff. And before we continue, let me be clear here. I'm not sitting up here saying that or advocating that we should sit back and don't say anything, be compliant, and just roll over and let people do whatever the heck they want to do with you. Of course not. Nobody's saying that. What I am saying is that if you're going to use military terms, you have to have a military. Okay? You have to have a military if you're going to use military terminology. All right? So anyway, one last example, and like I said, we're going to get into these little snippets that I'm going to show you right quick. Civil rights, the whole civil rights movement. A lot of that we can say was speaking truth to power. We didn't necessarily have a military with that or whatever, but was it the fact that we were doing protest alone is what got us to the point where we got civil rights? Think about this whole thing here, because again, when we talk about on this platform, we talk about the civil rights bill, and when you actually read it, it's not really talking about black people at all. In fact, it speaks in very broad terms. And when we measure the effectiveness of the Civil Rights Bill, what we'll find is that all these other groups are the ones that benefited from it the most. Where black people, on the other hand, well, we're still where we are today. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the Civil Rights Bill in of itself was something that, even though, here we go again with the whole, Trojan horse thing, where we were the ones out there in the streets getting our butt kicked, getting lynched and doing all this stuff. And the pay, that wasn't a burp, by the way. That was like kind of a yawn kind of thing. And the payoff was a bill that barely even mentions us. But yet, when we listen to the people who took part in that, they want to drill in your minds and make it seem as if this is our payoff. You have to give honor to this thing. This is us. This is our thing and all of that. But when we look back, when we're like, no, we really didn't benefit from it. It's the same thing with the whole DEI stuff. I showed you this is coming from Black Enterprise Magazine. Black Enterprise Magazine themselves said that only 4% of black people are benefiting from DEI. So here we go again. But the loudest voices that you hear out here defending it are black people. Make it make sense. In fact, don't, because it doesn't make sense. So anyway, all that being said here, what I want to do is what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you these clips here. And, I'll just show them to you kind of back to back. And I'm going to comment on a few of them maybe. But then we're going to get to, like I said, the main story, because I want to show you this to kind of set the stage for the main story that we're going to be talking about. And that's this pastor down in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So let me go ahead and just play for you some of these clips here. This first one is we played this clip already here on this platform. This is Maxine Waters. And she was in front of the Department of Education, which is a whole, where Elon Musk, Trump, and all of them are saying that, hey, listen, we're shutting this thing down because it doesn't make sense. United States students, schools, we are at the bottom. And so way we've been doing things, it ain't working. So we got to hit the reset button. And I'm listening to all these people screaming and hollering, talking about how children now are going to be impacted. They're also talking about how, after school lunches now, children aren't going to get food or anything like that. The amount of lies that they're putting out. Number one, even though the Department of Education will be shut down, the monies that were going from all the states to the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. are going to return back to the states. The states are going to get that money. So I don't understand why the states would be complaining about that. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to after school programs and not after school programs, the programs where they're feeding the, children who, are low income or whatever, they have these programs in the schools where they feed them. Right. And they're saying that if you shut down the Department of Education, they're not going to have those programs anymore. And there's going to be millions of children all over the world, all over the country that aren't going to get food. Well, that's a lie, too, because it's not the Department of Education that handles that. That is the USDA. The USDA handles that. So that's another lie. So they're pushing out all this fear, trying to make it seem as if the world is going to blow up and all this other stuff. Oh, my goodness, all this stuff. Right. And so enter in people like Maxine Waters, who wanted to do this whole Showtime thing. And she marched herself up to the Department of Education, to demand that she goes in and I want to talk to the guy that's in charge and all of this stuff here. So let's take a listen. So the guy that she's talking to, this is a security guard. All right. So I want you to listen to how she's addressing the security guard. Now, mind you, he ain't saying anything. But I want you to listen to this again.
Come on, hold your face up. Look at him. Let him see you. This is him. Look at it. What's your name? Tell us your name. Give me that ID again.
Giving you the ID, I showed it to you.
So what?
I showed you the ID.
You do what?
I showed you the
Could
ID.
you let me see the ID again? Huh?
No.
No? Will someone else ask him for the ID? Will you ask him for it? He won't let me see it again. You didn't see it.
I haven't
You didn't
seen
see
it.
it.
I
They
haven't
didn't
seen
see
it.
it. Look them in the eye. Come on, hold your face up. Look at him. Let him see you. This is him. Look at it. What's your name?
See, the amount of disrespect that she's putting out here for this guy who's basically doing his job. And, you know, so again, this is one example of what I'm talking about. Well, all the shouting and all of this other stuff, speaking truth to power. You had this whole big group trying to get into the Department of Education. If the speaking the truth to power actually worked, they would have been in the building. But all it took is one man who appeared to be unarmed, and they didn't get in. So if speaking the truth to power actually worked, they would have been able to get in. She's a whole congresswoman, but she couldn't get in. All that mouth, she still didn't have access to power. She didn't have access to it. So that's one example. Let me go to this next one here. This is another person here who says a whole lot here. She says a whole lot. And this is Representative Jasmine Crockett. And she says, so anyway, let me just play a clip from her so you can hear what she's saying here.
That's what's happening right now. I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why you can't make me doubt who I am is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. This is why they don't want us to have education.
This is why they don't want to have, there's so much I could say on that, but I want you to focus on what's, the wordage that she's using here. I'm tired of these, mediocre white boys. Now, I want you to imagine for a second if a white person, a white congressperson got up there and said, I'm tired of these lazy behind black boys. And use that same terminology, not black men, black boys. I want you to imagine for a second. If you were to use that same terminology, see, people who are led by their emotions do not take the time to think about the repercussions of what they're saying. They don't. Now, someone may be listening to this right now and say, well, where is she wrong? I mean, she ain't wrong. Black folks, we do have to work hard and all this other stuff. But what I'm saying is how you communicate that. You understand what I'm saying? When someone is led by their emotions, they don't think about that. They don't think about the repercussions of what can happen when you are a very bad communicator. And a lot of times what we do is we applaud people who communicate like this, these sister girl moments, and we think that's okay. But in the wider space of humanity, that is not the way you communicate if you want to progress, if you want to move forward, if you want to get things done in a system that you do not control. If I am working with someone or trying to work with people who do not look like me, the first thing I'm not going to do is insult them by using this kind of language. I'm not going to do that. I may have my disagreements, but I'm not going to come in and talk like that. And this woman does, and she's one of many people that do this kind of stuff literally all the time. I have another clip here. I'm trying to find it here. Let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, this is the other one here. Here it is. Let me bring it up here on the screen. Here we go. Take a listen.
Give it back to the daggone Native Americans, and then we can't go back nowhere else. And let's see how y'all like it.
Start over.
Because the colonizers, y'all the colonizers, but that's a whole other story. So I'm just saying. Give it back to the daggone Native Americans, and then we can't go back nowhere else. And let's see how y'all like it.
Start over.
Because the colonizers, y'all the colonizers, but that's a whole other story.
Now again, is she necessarily wrong in what she's saying? No, not necessarily. But again, it's how you communicate that. And see, when you're trying to have a conversation, an adult conversation, a mature conversation with people on this particular topic, they will automatically assume that what you're trying to say is, oh no, you're just trying to Uncle Tom, and you're just trying to. No, I'm not. I'm trying to show you how not to engage in a conversation if your intent is really trying to be progressive or trying to move forward. This is not the way to be talking like this. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't talk like that if you're trying to move. If you're talking like that, then that means you don't even care what the end is going to be. You understand what I'm saying? Let me see if I have one more video here. Here's one here. Now we're going to get out of this country and we're going to go to South Africa. All right. And I want you to take a listen to, and this guy, he's been saying stuff like this for a long time. Let me get to him. This is the guy over the EFF over in South Africa. And I want you to take a listen to him and how he is addressing the situation over in South Africa. Let's take a listen to him.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness. The mayor of DA in P.
All right, so he said we're cutting the throat of whiteness. This is what he said here. All right, I want to make sure you heard that. Again, it's communication, how you're communicating, what you're communicating. He said that we are cutting the throat of whiteness. And it was another leader that said something even worse, talking about cutting the throat of men, women, white men, women, children, and their dogs and something. It was something to that effect. Now, I want you to get perspective here, okay? I want you to have some perspective because in talking about that particular situation, here you're dealing with a country of South Africa. The majority of the country, the people now, is made up of black folks, all right? The majority, overwhelming majority of it. I think it's at the tune of right under 80%, 70 something, 80%, all right, of South Africa is made up of darker skinned people because, you know, they got their own different classifications. You got people who are black, and then you got the colored people, and then you got, you know, it's all over the place. But people who have dark skin, let's just say, make up of roughly about 70 to 80%. Now, guess who owns most of the land at the tune of about 70% of the land? It's the white farmers. The white farmers own 70, 80% of the land. So here you got black folks who make up the majority of South Africa, make up the majority of the government. But when it comes to food production, guess who controls all of that? The white people. Now, I got my own issues with the Boers. You know, that's the white people that live there. I got some serious issues with them. First of all, personally, no, they need to go back. My personal opinion, y'all, that ain't your country. That ain't your land. You need to go back from whence you came, be it Germany, Bulgaria, wherever it was, y'all need to go back because that ain't your land. It ain't. That's my own personal feeling when it comes to dealing with that particular issue. But the realities are they're there. Okay. So again, here you have them owning 70% of the land. A lot of them are farmers, which means that a lot of the food production is coming from them. Now, if you cut them off, if you're talking that language, that's not a language. If you're just saying, okay, we're just going to push you off, who's going to do the food production? Now, you may say, well, the black people can easily do that. Well, let's take a trip to, I believe, was it Zimbabwe? If I'm not mistaken, someone can correct me. They did this twice in their country. They said, enough of the white people. We're going to get rid of them. We're going to get rid of all of them. We're going to get rid of the farmers, the white farmers. We're getting rid of all of them. We're going to take over all of that. And black folks here, we were just cheering and saying, yes, this is how it's done. This is how it's supposed to be done, right? Well, it didn't take them too long because once they got a hold of those farms, guess what happened? They didn't know what's up. And so finally what ended up happening, they had to call back the white farmers and say, come on back. We don't know what we're doing here. It's crazy, but I'm just telling you this. And it happened not once, but twice. And it seems to me that shouldn't you learn from that? I'm not saying black folks are incapable of running a farm. I'm just telling you how it went down and historically. And here you got in South Africa, they're making these proclamations like this openly, not just, in front of thousands of people there, whatever, but all over the internet where millions of people hear this stuff. And then you're making these proclamations. At some point, you're going to have a sit down with these people, regardless if you agree with them being there or not, and say, hey, listen, we got some disagreements here, but we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to figure something out here. Because what we realize is that y'all are running this, the food production or whatever. We can't stand each other, but we still got to work together. That is how you work together. That's how you build things. It's not about buddy and I'm trying to marry your daughter or anything like that. But if you come in with this kind of language, you are inciting things that can very well blow up right in your face. Now, as I'm saying here, we're going to stay here in South Africa. I have another video that I want to play for you. Now, this is someone in government in South Africa. This was his assessment of what the real problem was in South Africa. This isn't mine. This is someone in their own government saying this. So let me play this video for you.
Now, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says the eThekwini district is the biggest contributor to crime statistics in the province. Mkhwanazi was speaking at an anti-crime summit earlier today. Now, he says statistics also show a disturbing trend around black men.
A lot of activities happening in and around this district. 40% in this past financial year, 40% of our cases are coming from here. So if we can deal with eThekwini's problem, followed by Mgungundlovu, we will have won the war. So it's more peaceful to live at Mzinyati district, to live at Herikwala district, to live at Mkhanyakude district, than to live at eThekwini. So these are the stats, and these are the biggest, this eThekwini district, Mgungundlovu, they account for the biggest number of informal settlements that we have. The biggest number of liquor outlets, biggest number of all the wrong things, unemployment, kids that are dropping out of school and they wander on the street and they commit crime. They are all within this eThekwini district. So we need to identify what the problem is and how then do we fix it going forward. Our perpetrators, Premier, we felt we must put this light so that we can identify what is our problem. Because we need to analyze what is the problem. The problem we have, you forgive me on this, but this is not me talking, these are the stats.
Listen.
We have a problem with the black man in South Africa. We have a serious problem. What we see here, we put the colors, the races of perpetrators that we've arrested. All the green, as you can see, almost everything is green here, which means almost everything is black that is committing crime. Out of total of 60,000 cases, criminals that were arrested between the age of 16 and 25 years old, 16 and 25 years old, we arrested 60,000 criminals in this past financial year, in this period of 5 years, I beg your pardon, not in financial year, this 5-year period that we are counting. Out of this number, 57,691 of them were black men.
Stop, full stop. 57,000 and change black men they are arrested just in 1 year's time in South Africa that were committing crime. This is South Africa now. This ain't apartheid South Africa. This is black controlled South Africa. This is the same Africa where the other person that I was just playing just a moment ago was saying that we need to go and cut the neck of white supremacy. Well, let me ask you something. How are you going to cut the white of white supremacy when 57,000 of your own men are out here cutting up black people? See, we don't want to talk about these things. So and then let me play this one last video here. And like I said, we're getting to our main point, but I'm setting you up for this because I have to show these things to you so that it will be more impactful once I get to the main topic here, which we're about to hit right now. As soon as I can get it up here, hold on. Here we go. All right, so this is after the Daniel Perry, the guy that choked the black person out in the subway. This was after the result was put out there, that, he was acquitted or whatever. And so you had family members got up and they did a little press conference here. I don't know if many of y'all remember it, but I want you to listen to what this man is saying here.
Vigilantes? We need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
Right.
I'm tired.
Tired.
I know you're looking for us to be like, oh, go and march. Go and march. No. This weekend, I want you to hold a community event everywhere from the Bronx to Houston to Seattle to Florida. Black people hold community events and talk about what you need.
So he's calling for vigilantes and all of this other stuff. All right. And so, again, we're doing all this military type talk, but we do not have our own military. I'm not necessarily advocating for that. But what I'm saying is that we like to paint this picture oftentimes that we are in this great land of our oppressors and, we're in okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Yes, after all, you look at the history, these people who are oppressors, they brought us over here, they had us work, and we go through slavery and Jim Crow and all that stuff, and they designed a system that systematically keeps us down. Let's go with that. But if that's the case, we have to be very strategic in how we're communicating and how we're doing things. And then what I'm telling you is this ain't it. Because the first thing you have to do is when you are making that kind of talk, the first thing you have to assess is the condition of your own people. And if the condition of your own people is messed up, when you're still dealing with mental illness, when you're still dealing with bad health care, when you're still dealing with broken homes, when you're still dealing with financial instability, when you're dealing with all of these things, we are not in a condition to wage any kind of serious battle or war as you're talking. We're not. And so the option we have been leaning on all this time is speaking truth to power. As if you can out-argue a whole empire. This is what we tell ourselves. We think we can sit up here and out-argue a whole empire. Well, for that brings us to the main part of this video. And this is Dr. Steve Caldwell. I hope I'm saying his name right. I'm not intentionally mispronouncing his name. I want you to take a listen to what he is telling, who he just recently told his congregation. He's down in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I want you to take a listen to the language. Again, we're focusing on the language. Here we go.
And in this nation, I'm worried that we are on the verge of bloodshed. This is an attempt to take us back to a day that we do not want to go and we will not go. Therefore, there will be conflict. I pray that the peace of God will win out and overcome the madness that is attempting to take over this nation. And I will say to you, beloved, no one likes violence, but sometimes violence is necessary. When Elon Musk forces his way into the United States Treasury and threatens to steal your personal information and your Social Security check, There is the possibility of violence. Sometimes the devil will act so ugly that you have no other choice but to get violent and fight. Well, someone might say, now, Reverend, you shouldn't be talking about violence. This isn't the Christian thing to do. Well, I will say, why not talk this way? Because Jesus did. Jesus said in this key verse, didn't he? The kingdom of heaven suffers what? Violence. And the who? The violent take it by force. The kingdom of God is a war zone. It is a battlefield. You did know this, right?
Okay. So this is the argument that he's making here. So again, we're getting back to language here and why it's so important. Now, I know I'm going to have probably some people say, well, he's talking figuratively. Okay, if we're going to use that route, then we got to go and reevaluate every racist white person that has made figurative arguments and speeches about black folks. And then now we need to reclassify them as figurative talk. But see, I wanted to take some time and I said, let me look at this guy, this reverend. Let me go to his church website. Because if you're going to talk that talk, then clearly your church must be full of some able-bodied, strong men and at a certain age that if it comes down to violence in the street, that they would be fully capable and ready to handle business, right? So I said, well, let me take a trip and let me look at this man's church, all right? His church is the Greater Second Missionary Baptist Church. Now, this is the pictures that he has on his website here. I'm seeing majority elderly men. I'm seeing elderly women. I'm seeing a lot of women, younger women with children. Here you got an elderly man here in a wheelchair. Here you have a woman here with their 2 babies. Got some dancers. Another elderly woman here, a picture full of elderly. Behind him ain't nothing but elderly women. Got some more elderly women. There was a few men back there. In this shot, he's got some more women. In this shot, mostly women again, a few older men. And it's a very small church, big building, small church. Got some children in the front. There's one man there. They're feeding the elderly people, mostly women and children. That's the church. So he's telling these people here that, hey, listen, you're going to have to wage war. You're going to have to be prepared to wage war and to enter into violence. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. And this is where the part that I said, I really want you to hear me out on this. Because it's people like this that put this kind of language out that ultimately what will end up happening is when the chickens come home to roost, they will never come home to their home. They will never come to their doorstep. What will end up happening a lot of times is you get that one person, the wrong person, that will hear that kind of rhetoric and who are just looking for a reason. And then typically, in most cases, the people who get the other end of that, in many cases, are innocent black men who are just going about their business by some cop, by some whomever out there that's just looking for a reason. And you're out here telling these people here, using your people as a prop, if you will, telling them, these 60-plus-year-old people, these single moms with their children, that they're going to have to wage war, but you're not really talking to them. You wanted your social media moment and put that out there and not realize the weight of the potential consequences by saying this kind of stuff. By putting this stuff out here. And like I said, again, when you are loose and with your words and you're just saying stuff like this, it's usually not those people that suffer. It's usually someone else out there that ends up catching a stray or something like that. Now, going back what he was saying about Elon Musk or whatever, threatening to steal your data and all that, There's not one time they said anything about taking anybody's data. They don't even have, according to what they're saying, they only have read-only access, according to what they're saying. And that's been verified by the Secretary of the Treasury. I played you that video as well. So this is what I'm saying. You got these filthy liars out here that use their Bible. They use their Bible as a way to convince people to stay angry, to stay bitter, to stay misinformed. And at the same time, you're opening the door for all kinds of stuff that could potentially take somebody out, and it didn't have to end that way. And what I said before, I said this a while back, I said that generation of people who still engage in that old talk, in that old messy talk, let me say something to you, okay? And I'm going to say it in a very indirect way. For people who are continuously or committed to misguiding our people and pushing our people into lies and fear, I want you to finish taking all your vaccines. I want that to happen. I want you to continue to take all your booster shots, because it's time to go. Because the amount of damage that you are causing out here and the misguidance that you are providing out here for all of these people, it is damaging. And for some of these people, it's they don't need to hear that kind of stuff. There are many ways that we can address things without that kind of foolish talk. And so I did a little more digging on this guy. And I found out, I went to the PPP database, come to find out his church has been getting some money from the government. Ain't a whole lot, but they've been getting some money. Greater Second Missionary Baptist Church, $12,534 back in 2020. Let's go on Chattanooga, Tennessee. Here's another one, $38,000. I'm trying to see. I think it might have been another one. I didn't finish going through the whole list here. That's Greater Tucker Missionary Baptist Church. That's another church. But when I was going through these databases, y'all, and looking at all of these churches that were receiving government money on the low, you know what church denomination kept coming up over and over again? Missionary Baptist churches. Missionary Baptist churches kept showing up over and over and over and over again. They were getting money. And so because this man is pissed off that potentially his money is going to be kind of frozen there for a moment, he's going to put this kind of talk out here to try to gas up black folks into some kind of street war. And the people that he's really trying to gas up, it ain't young people, because you can see for yourself, it ain't really young people that's going to his church. These are old folks. These are old people. But yet his ass is out here putting this stuff out here. And he's also boule. Yeah, he's also boule. He's Alpha Phi Alpha. Now, there's a very significant thing about Alpha Phi Alpha. If you listen to this platform, I'm looking at my time here. If you listen to this platform, we've talked about the history of Alpha Phi Alpha. Specifically, they had another member that had some kind of issue with blood in the street, violence in the street. You know what his name was? Wilson Good. He was the first black mayor of Philadelphia. I know, because I used to live, I was born in Philly, but then my family, we moved to South Jersey, but Philly was just like a stone's throw away. Okay. How many of y'all again remember back in the 80s, that whole thing, it was called MOVE. This was an organization. It was a black organization. And they recall, they said they were a very radical organization. They were like very pro-black, but they were a little extreme in some of the things that they were doing, right? And so, long story short, neighbors start complaining because some of the things that they were doing and all this other stuff. So this is, at this time in Philadelphia, this section of Philadelphia, it was made up of a lot of black folks that lived there. So police would come and that's it or whatever. And then one time the police came and said, hey, listen, y'all got to get up out of here. And then that's when this organization pulled out the guns and all of that. And then, you can't do that and don't think it's going to end well. You understand? So long story short, it was a whole fire battle and all that. Wilson Goode, the first black mayor of Philadelphia, deployed naturally like any mayor would. The police, they also had all the first responders were there, right? And then they saw that they weren't getting anywhere. I want you to pay attention to this story because a lot of our people got amnesia when it comes to our own recent history. And so long story short, they saw that they weren't getting anywhere. This is in the 80s, y'all. And so they approached, meaning the first responders, I think it was the fire chief or someone, and the police department, they approached Wilson Goode, who's also an Alpha Phi Alpha. And they said, hey, listen, we got an idea here. We got some C4 that we got a helicopter. We can fly over this house. This is a row home now. And we can drop on top of that because these people have built a bunker on top of their house. And we're going to, we can drop it and then we'll be able to, it will be such a shock to them. We'll be able to rush in and take them all out. Wilson Goode, what do you think about that? Wilson Goode said, go for it. Do it. So here you have Philadelphia's first black mayor agreeing to drop a bomb on a house in Philadelphia in a black neighborhood. See, a lot of y'all stay with Black Wall Street. I'm talking something that happened in the 1980s. So I remember it. I was around. This took place in 20 miles from my house. So they dropped a bomb. Well, you know the rest of the story. It ended up burning up a whole section of this community, this black community. Well, the story continues to get worse because he tried to get ahead of it. Wilson Goode, the Alpha Phi Alpha guy, and he said, okay, I'm going to go and my office is going to pick the contractors to rebuild this whole section of town. He got the worst ones. And for years, these black people complained, the citizens, they complained because the houses are all jacked up the way they were built. They used bad materials and all this other stuff. It was years and years and years that these black residents complained because they was like, okay, you bombed our house. Then you're going to get the worst contractors out here to rebuild our homes. This is all an Alpha Phi Alpha. So yeah, his organization does have some history with violence in the street. If you're going to look at it. See, I like looking at things, the whole gamut. Let me look at the whole thing. So here you got this pastor who's part of that same organization calling for people to bring violence in simply because of, oh my God, they're raiding the Department of Education. They're raiding the Social Security offices and all this other stuff when he's not even factually being true. And I guarantee you this, I had to stop myself. This dude, back in our last video, we talked about how Al Gore back in '93 led a similar initiative to reduce government. At a tune of 250,000 employees got axed, 250,000 employees, and then 800 departments got reduced. But, we black folks ain't had nothing to say then because, after all, they're Democrats and, Democrats, they know what's best for black folks. But now all of a sudden it's happening again. Now all of a sudden, oh my God, we're going to have to go to war. My point is this. I can't speak for anybody else here on social media. Social media can be a very great place to learn things, to be inspired, to be your best or whatever, but it also can be a very dangerous thing. And what I'm saying is, before I get on this microphone, before I get on that screen, I have to literally I usually spend maybe an hour, if not more, thinking through everything I'm going to say, because I understand that to any measure, my words will have weight, just like yours will. And I have to take full responsibility of the things that I say and I communicate on this platform. But what I just showed you in this video here is that you got too many people out here that are saying things that are putting black folks in general in potential harm's way by saying these kind of things and citing stuff. And you're just not a good communicator at all. You're not. And a lot of these people are simply led by emotion. When you're out here over and over again, just spitting on white people and just saying that they are just the worst of the worst, and they're going to be cursed and judged by God, and these are the Edomites and all this other stuff, and you just say this on repeat over and over again, you are the one that's sowing the discord. You are the one doing that. It's not them. You're doing that. And meanwhile, black folks out here who got enough we got to deal with anyway, just on a day-to-day basis, now we got to contend with the results of what you put out with your black ashy mouth. So what I'm saying is the moral of all of this is this. We're in a time right now, yes, there's a lot of tension going on, but we have to make sure we take very good care of the things that we say and what we put out here. And that black people, period, right now at this moment, we are not in a position to wage war on anybody. We're not. You can talk all that war talk all you want and talk about we're going to fight in the street and we're going to wage battle and all this other stuff. But if you turn back and look at your army and see you got nothing but broken homes, I'm not saying all black people, you understand what I'm saying. But that's an issue, broken homes. You got black men and black women going at each other on social media. You got sickness, you got mental health issues, you got all this stuff going on. How are we in a position to wage war on anybody when our number one enemy is ourselves? And I close with this. Look at the post that I just posted on the community page. I said, everybody's looking at the halftime show, Kendrick Lamar, right? And talking about, oh man, he just threw down. And I said, but the deeper message was this in that whole thing. Half the time, he just calling out Drake, because, they got that ongoing beef. So here you got two black men, the highlight of the Super Bowl, the highlight. I want you to pay attention to this. The highlight of the Super Bowl was a whole performance dedicated to a fight or a battle between two black men that hate each other. And you know what our response was to that? We danced to it. We made it into a musical. It's a musical. Two black men hating one another. We made it into a musical. And guess who got paid on top of that? The NFL. We didn't even get paid for it. So we turned the anger, the self-hate that we have against each other, we turned it into a musical. We danced, we commented, we shared. The NFL got their check. Kendrick Lamar got their check. And what did you get? More compacting and underscoring the fact that we do have a self-hate problem and we are in no condition to fight any external forces that we perceive that are out there. We're in no condition for that. So this is why, again, there needs to be a great separation. And I'm not talking a separation between black people and white people and Asian people and Africans and Caribbeans. I'm not talking like that. There needs to be a separation between those that got good sense and those that do not. Because one thing for certain, I will not align myself with anybody that is going to put me or my family in any kind of jeopardy. That's not happening. You want to talk like that? You talk like that over there. Meanwhile, let me continue to do what I'm doing and building and moving forward and doing everything I'm doing right now. But I will not associate myself with people who want to talk like that, insult the whole room, and then as soon as the room gets up and wants to retaliate, now all of a sudden you run into me to be your defense. That ain't happening. You on your own with that. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, that's about it. I want to kind of talk about this particular issue because this is an ongoing thing that I do see happening a whole lot. You got a lot of people out here that are running off at the mouth and they're saying things. It's not that necessarily everything they're saying is incorrect, because I'm not saying that. It's how you communicate. And you also have to take in account of the position that you're in. If you are speaking from a powerless position, then all your yelling and screaming isn't going to change anything. We have to be a lot more strategic in how we communicate and how we come together, whatever that looks like, and how we move forward. All right. So that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. You take care. And I'll be talking to you again soon. Take care.